are listening to Beach Talk Radio with Kim and Ed Ryan.
And a good morning, everybody, and welcome to Beach Talk Radio, episode number 227, coming to you live from our home base, Pete's Time Out here in Times Square. Before we get to our first guest of the morning, it's going to be a long show, everybody, so buckle up for nothing but fun and excitement. Your hair looks lovely, John. Before we get going today, I want to thank all of our great sponsors that make the show tick, make everything worthwhile here, other than sitting next to my wife for 90 minutes. Royal Scoop Ice Cream, the official ice cream of Beach Talk Radio. Sun Palace Vacations, Fort Myers Beach Realty, Fort Myers Tiki Tours, Nervous Nellies, Margaritas, State Insurance USA, La Ola Restaurant, Coastal Vacation Properties, Tuckaway Cafe, Beach Pottery, Shuckers, the Farmers Market at the Beach Baptist, Island Carts FMB, JPS Vacation Rentals, and Pete's Time Out. Coming up later in the show, the Beach School Principal, the brand new principal, Dr. Traci Kohler, and Michael Braun is finally with us after he moved on from the news press and is now working at WGCU. Welcome to the show, dear.
Oh, well, thank you for turning on the microphone. If you go too long, I'm going to have to up the parking fee because I only paid for a couple hours. So
the other thing I want to let everybody know is that we have a big special at the Beach Pottery. So you people out there that have nothing to do, everybody goes to Beach Pottery today and buys a Vietnamese pot, gets 20% off just by mentioning our name.
Wow.
Beach Talk Radio. So thank you to
hordes of people are now rushing down.
They do have lovely pots, though.
Those pots are it's not just that. They have a lot of stuff in their gift shop. They have a lot of trinkets and interesting jewelry and fun, useful stuff. They do have really good coffee. And, I tried the key lime. All the key lime stuff is super fantastic. So
why don't we save all that chatter for after John?
Are we going to get to talk about how you almost killed me this week?
I almost killed you.
Yes.
Okay. We'll talk about that. Okay. So our first guest of the show today is John Albion. John, welcome to the program.
Go ahead. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Make sure his microphone is on. Was it on?
It is on.
All right. Well, give him yours and we'll figure it out. John, welcome to the program.
Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Well, this is a little bit along the lines for me because I know with computers my nickname is user error, so I thought the microphone might have been me.
No problem at all. So, John, what we like to do with all of our guests when we get rolling along is ask them a speed round of questions. So this means you have no time to think about it. You have to answer quickly. We're going to start the clock because it's a 60-second exercise. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
The first question is, are you a dog or a cat person?
Dog.
Favorite TV show growing up as a child?
Oh, that's a tough one. MASH.
Very nice. Favorite movie of all time?
Young Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein. Who starred in that movie?
That was a Mel Brooks movie.
Yeah.
And it was starring, and I've got him pictured. So Gene Wilder.
All right. Very nice. Who are the three most interesting people you know and why outside of your family?
Outside of my family.
Never mind.
So that's a tougher one.
John, we ask tough questions.
I understand that.
This isn't going to be no pussyfooting around.
Well, actually, who I consider very good friends and have been very influential in my life, Fran Myers would be one in Fort Myers Beach.
Very nice.
Very interesting person. Also, I would say, by the way, still alive? Still alive?
No, it doesn't matter.
Okay. So interesting people. Bill Merwin, head of FGCU, would be a second. And I would say Don Stillwell, county manager that we had for actually just under 16 years in Lee County. I served with him for 13 years.
So if you had 30 minutes and a recorder, I don't know, he's got these worded so weird, but who would you interview and why?
Again, someone that dead or alive?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I mean,
actually,
you might have to travel really far if they're not here, but yeah.
I would say that it would be either Thomas Jefferson or Ben Franklin. And the reason why is because to really understand the roots of Thomas Jefferson, of what he was involved with, or what Ben Franklin did as a diplomat for this country would be just awe-inspiring to me.
Well, that is a good answer. Let me see. So what one goal has eluded you? What, either professionally or personally?
So, well, I would say the one goal that has eluded me has been, this is going to sound a little different, and I'm not going to reach this goal. Actually, I always wanted to run a marathon, and because of knee issues, I used to run cross country. I'm never going to be able to meet that bucket list, but that was a goal that will elude me.
So because it's not because of age, because you could do it. It's just your knees. Your knees won't allow it.
Since high school, right?
All right. And if you, what? Oh, your most embarrassing moment in life. You've changed these questions. I had the other ones memorized. Sorry. Go ahead.
So
hopefully it won't be today with something he says.
Most embarrassing moment.
Have you ever fallen in public?
No.
Have you ever mispronounced something and just been like, ugh?
So, well, I've done that a few times, and sometimes, especially mispronouncing a name. When you see somebody, that's always an embarrassing moment for me.
All right. And so I know one of the questions we used to have on is, what would your last meal be? If you knew this was it, this is the last time you were going to eat soup to nuts, what would it be?
Well, it would be a homemade soup, preferably tomato or minestrone.
I'm with you there.
My favorite meal would be, which my wife actually has done a great job coming up with and cooking, was my grandmother's recipe for brisket with mashed potatoes. And for dessert, no question, would be a brownie, which I've been accused of inhaling.
All right, we're going to go with 2 microphones today. It's just one of those days, John. So the first question, John is running for, if anybody doesn't know, John is running for the Lee County Board of Commissioners. You've been on the board before. Tell us quickly how long you were on the board and, what years that was.
Well, actually, it might be part of a trivia question in the future because I was on the board from 1992 to 2006. I'm only one of 6 people that could say that I was a county commissioner in Lee County in 2 millenniums. There was the 5 of us, and then Frank Mann, who served in 93, 94, and unfortunately, sadly, Frank passed away, is why the seat's available. And Frank actually succeeded me in the District 5 seat in 2006, and when I actually made a run for higher office. And I'm looking to return to the same seat.
Okay, so you're running, I think you have 3 opponents on the Republican side, and then 2 opponents. There's a write-in, crazy write-in, and then there's a Democrat that has no shot, somebody named Wood, right? I mean, this is a Republican county. Whoever wins the primary is going to most likely be seated, is my guess. I mean, are you with me?
Typically, whoever wins the Republican primary has a huge lead and is expected to win the general. They really have to stumble and have maybe a very embarrassing moment.
So yesterday, Governor DeSantis appointed Mike Greenwell to the seat. There's probably only 1 or 2 commission meetings before the actual primary, right? And so what did you think when you read the news that DeSantis did that?
So, well, I was frankly disappointed. There's something that's going on here that honestly should be a concern to people. And I think that the governor, unfortunately, was given bad advice. He has no reason to get involved with this race. And the reason why is there's 2 county commission meetings, 2 zoning hearings, really, and a couple of workshops between now and the primary. Certainly could have waited. It is highly unusual for a governor to get involved with a Republican primary if he's a Republican governor. I can understand why he appointed somebody in another county where there were 4 Democrats on the board and he's a Republican and wanted to get a Republican on that board. But this is 4 Republicans that are currently there that get along well, tend to vote the same way, and are backers of Ron DeSantis. So there wasn't anything to be gained for the governor. But the reality is that a number of these appointments seem to be coming through from really the root source being one campaign manager. That seems to be through a connection that he has that he took from Lee County up to Tallahassee.
Who's the campaign manager?
Well, I mean, it's Terry Miller.
Okay.
And the reality is, if you look at where these appointments are coming from, you can see that as a common denominator. I don't think the governor did this to try to be, necessarily hurtful. I think that he's been misled by these people. He's made a couple of appointments that would be unusual for a governor to make, and it therefore looks like that I think something else going on. And so, and here's the reason I'm worried, and I'm very worried about this, okay? Because when I came on the Lee County Commission in 1992, there were commissioners that went to jail from 1980. There was a commissioner that went to jail in 1990. And this is basically where Rod starts getting into the system when a few people believe they can dictate the terms. And let's be realistic. There's a state Senate seat that basically was trying to be handed off from one person to another. All right. And, this is the type of stuff that I feel is bad for the voters of Lee County. I know it made me want to crash too, but it's bad for the voters of Lee County. They should be making these decisions. Now, when you get beyond the Republican primary, governor's a Republican, wants to do something, that's fine. I am concerned for this county that if it's coming down to a few people again, that we're going to start seeing. And I'm sorry, but I'm a big believer in Machiavelli. Power corrupts absolutely. And that's what happened in this county. We finally cleared it up. And let me give you an example. We had 4 county administrators in 5 years when I got on the board. It was the fourth one. And we knew we had to make a change because we had a couple of groups based on power. The day they got their guy in was the first day the other guy was trying to push them off the hill, king of the hill, if you will. And we stopped that by bringing in a county manager from outside that really knew his stuff big time. Don Stillwell had 25 years of experience in city and county government, came from Oregon, whose Growth Management Act closely mirrors Florida's Growth Management Act. So he came in running, and he was there for over 15 years, almost 16. And in the last 20 years, we've only had 3 county managers where we had 4 and 5 prior to that.
How did Stillwell's reign end?
Well, a lot of that I felt was politics.
Well, how did it end?
It ended where there were a couple of incidents that happened where they were concerned about something with his son-in-law that was involved at the time with, certain land deals, which Don was not in the middle of.
I see.
And the second part was there was concerns about some emails that had gone around. But the reality was these aren't this is an administrative job, but it still comes down to the fact for 15 and a half years, we had government that had low taxes. We were at the front end of the curve. People were looking to Lee County about how we got things done. And we were very, very successful for a long period of time. And it really helped build the county where it's at. We are in an area that administration helped build right now in Times Square. Because when I started, there was people driving through Times Square, parking in Times Square, and all sorts of mischief going on. And now you have this gorgeous walking mall that came from the Community Redevelopment Agency that was started before Stillwell and before I was in office by about a year.
It's not so gorgeous, but it needs an upgrade. But I hear what you're saying.
Well, it was gorgeous for a long time, and it was definitely a lot better than people walking by a car and pouring a beer on the driver, which is what was going on back then. As a matter of fact, I was with the Chamber of Commerce on the board back then.
We got some homeless people that go around in the back here and use the back areas as places to go to the bathroom. How do we fix that?
So, that really comes down to, I believe, more law enforcement. And I really hate to bring this up, but it was a homeless person we know that very sadly killed the Fort Myers Beach librarian. Yeah. So these can be people that maybe aren't mentally correct, that can be dangerous. So that's why law enforcement needs to be involved. So
do you think that Fort Myers Beach should have community policing? Is that what you're saying?
That's a town decision, sure, and not a county decision.
Well, what's your thought?
And my thought is that they should have conversations with the sheriff, and they feel that community policing will help solve it. I'm not a law enforcement expert, but I will tell you that one of the areas that the town is trying to work towards and working with the county that I think is a very good idea is getting more lighting down here. So I started a quality of life committee, we called it, with the chamber years ago, because instead of dealing with an issue for 5 or 10 minutes at the board and walk away, we could talk about it for an hour. Yeah. I also cut my teeth on our family self-storage facility on Pine Ridge Road, and we have outdoor storage as well as indoor. And the first thing we did was to put in lighting so it was lit up like daytime.
Let me ask you a question about the lighting. Do you think that Lee County should pay for the lights on Estero Boulevard?
Well, Lee County has got a policy with all communities. So therefore, typically we have lighting districts, and therefore it should typically be done by the town. But if Lee County feels it's necessary enough, we should definitely look into possibly doing that.
But you've been the Chamber of Commerce president down here. You have been a county board member. Should Lee County pay for the lights on a road they own?
So on a road, well, again, we own other roads and we have street lighting districts. But I'll be candid with you. I'm not convinced Lee County should own the road. It's the spine of Fort Myers Beach, and I don't understand, if you want home rule, why it's being run by somebody else. And this is the exact reason why.
Yeah.
All right. So at the end of the day, if it was owned by the town of Fort Myers Beach, it wouldn't be a question, would it? So at the end of the day, why wouldn't they have that type of home rule control? So there should be an answer in there whether Lee County participates in the lighting as long as we're going to own the road.
What do you mean by a lighting district? Is that what's going on over in Cape Coral or wherever they have that?
No. We have lighting districts all over the county.
I see.
Where if the neighborhood wants streetlights, then they pay additional taxes, their portion by lot, to have streetlights. So that's very common.
So do you think Fort Myers Beach, Estero Boulevard, should have a lighting district? That's the first I've heard of that. Maybe I need to get out more.
Well, actually, if you look at the Lee County budget every year, you actually see all those street lighting districts are voted on every year at that time because that millage rate needs to be set.
So there's a lighting district set up. The town would pay taxes into the lighting district, and the county would take over the lights. Would put the lights up.
Well, yes, that's essentially how it would work. Or if the county decided that they would go ahead and do it, then they could do it. So there's any number of ways that they could end up doing it, including forming a taxing district.
So you think that
there needs to be an answer. There needs to be a negotiation, and it's better to have better street lighting. It prevents people from doing things that they don't want other people to see.
I think everybody agrees with that. I have a feeling that Lee County would turn the road over to the town of Fort Myers Beach for $1.
I wouldn't be sure of that because actually I asked the question when I was on the board and I got shot back down by the county attorneys who were talking about because it connects to the state road, which is McGregor, and connects at the other end to I-75. But I believe there was a study done years ago on Estero Boulevard that shows 95% of the people, is the number I remember, that come on the island do not leave at the other end. They come here to be on the island. So why is that local control essentially coming from Lee County when this is what you voted for was home rule? Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong if that's what people want. But typically, this is your spine. And everything that happened with this road project had to go through Lee County and the town of Fort Myers Beach. And at least.
Well, the thing that's a little bit odd on Fort Myers Beach is you got the county owns the road, the county owns Lynn Hall Park, the county owns Bowditch. It's a mishmash of who owns what and the whole thing. Like when you come over the bridge, the town of Fort Myers Beach doesn't own everything, which is weird.
Well, there are certain things, and for example, the state owns from the mean high tide line to the water. So at the end of the day, there can be. There can be certain elements that could be, but I'm looking at this is the spine of your community is the road. So therefore, we need to make sure this is right. This road affects every person, whether they have a car or not, whether they're a child or an adult on Fort Myers Beach.
Do you know Dave Poling?
No.
Have you ever heard of Dave Poling? He says he's losing respect for the governor. It must have to do with what you were talking about before. So just reading some of the comments. So,
thank you,
John,
Dave.
do you have a question?
No.
Okay. Do you as long as you're showing off your hair, everything's good on the show? I mean, it's totally
hard. It's hard to chime in when we're going back.
We have 2 channels that work and 2 that don't work, but that's one of those things where you just never know what's going to happen. But John,
Kim's at a disadvantage since we're holding the microphones.
I know, right? It's so odd because you have a routine of things. But anyway, so John, you brought up law and order, and we definitely have a law and order sheriff. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but he is an employee of Lee County. When you see the sheriff,
he's not an employee of Lee County.
Oh, he's not.
He's an elected official.
That's true.
Constitutional officer. He's an employee of the people of all of Lee County.
But the budget comes from Lee County is what I meant
We're
to say.
We're the budget authority.
Yeah, what I meant to say.
We can't tell them what to do, and they make that very clear to us.
Really?
They remind us they have guns. Yes.
My bad. What I meant to say was that you hold the purse strings, which is kind of a control. You have a lot of control there. So when you see a stage perp walk for a 10-year-old boy, what do you think?
That was a mistake by the sheriff. All right. I mean, think about it. If you had a 10-year-old child, this child's obviously has issues, whether they're mental issues or whether there's something with the upbringing. But no, we don't do that. As a matter of fact, when I see normally these news stories on TV, they block out juveniles because they are juvenile age. All right. They need help. They don't need to have the type of embarrassment that's going to potentially tar them for a long time, if not for life, which, by the way, if you're trying to get them off that road, that didn't help. Okay. So if you think you're scaring them, that's not what we do with children. I just think that the sheriff simply made a mistake.
Do you think he admits he made a mistake, or he's cool with that?
You'd have to ask him.
I see.
Let's put it this way. I haven't seen it happen since. So I would hope that it would not happen again.
Yeah.
Well, can we switch gears to something? So there's been a lot of talk about how fast Lee County is growing. I mean, all of Florida is growing fast, and the difficulty with keeping up with infrastructure and managing smart growth. What's your stance? What are your ideas to kind of manage the growth that we're going to experience no matter what?
Well, first of all, I'm not sure to some of these northern mayors and governors who are doing an awful job at keeping people safe in their communities, whether we should be sending them a get well card, a sympathy card, or a thank you card. But the reality is that they are driving, and people think it's because of COVID, and they're thinking it's because of the taxes, and there's some of that. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of it is because people don't feel safe up north. And it says a lot about our county, and give the sheriff's department and his people credit for this, that people feel safe in this community, and they should. I think they do a very good job, and I'm very proud of our law enforcement as a whole. But the reality is that we're going to have the significant growth, and we've been having it for a while. We have been found, all right? I spent a lot of time on the county commission going after infrastructure dollars, and brought in a $20 million federal grant, which is actually a demonstration project for the nation, which is the transponder program known as Leeway. Okay. On the Cape Coral Midpoint bridges. We are the first public sector project in the nation, all right, that actually lowered the tolls during off-peak hours instead of raising the tolls during peak hours. Imagine government doing that. Well, we did it in Lee County. All right. I also was involved directly with putting a group together, and we were able to get over $31 million when Jeb Bush stopped the high-speed rail at the end of the 1990s. Mm-hmm. We had to compete for the money. We put a group together, including Bill Merwin from the university, and we did so well over the 2 years that the East Coast got really angry, and that's why we heard they stopped the program. And there was only one person that was on the board that did the recommending that was west of Orlando. And we still did great for those 2 years. So it's the idea that we have to build partnerships to go after state and federal money is what we need to do to do that. We need to get Three Oaks Extension done. The board, unfortunately, missed an opportunity after I left, and we had the big downturn to get roads done at a significant discount. We also need to get the Alico Extension done up to State Road 82. Which will connect to Sunshine and cut people's drive times in Lehigh Acres, which is in the district, from 40 to 45 minutes. They're going to cut it in half. That road is critical to move it up as fast as possible. So that's what we need to do with a lot of the infrastructure. We build groups, we go after the money that's available, and we fight. And I was very successful at going after getting permits, getting through, going to Washington, D.C., and fighting for them. I don't sit in my office. There's money out there. It's like a fumble in football. I'm on the defensive side of the ball, and I got nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Listen to these analogies rolling out. Now, and then I'll give it back to you. So that sort of is the infrastructure part of it. How do you balance growth and maintaining the environment?
Let's go to the quality of life.
Okay.
Because I was on the board when we voted to put 2020 to a referendum, mm-hmm. and I was supportive of that. I was supportive of the program, and when the public got behind it, that was my signal to also go to Tallahassee with our staff under the Florida Forever program. We were able to bring in over $10 million of additional funding so that it wasn't just our citizens who were paying it out of pocket. And we have over 30,000 acres being preserved. There's a problem right now where the federal government has turned certain responsibilities over to state DEP, and specifically for the Alico extension, the credits that we should be getting for that 2020 lands that we bought, that we negotiated with the federal government, they're now balking at right now. That's millions of dollars they're asking our taxpayers to have to pay instead of giving us the credits that we have under an agreement. I'm prepared to get involved and fight for that, not just for the money part of it, but to make sure that our program keeps the integrity of part of what we did and the citizens expected when they bought in.
Okay.
So, John, would you agree or disagree that the county being run the way it is now is a well-oiled machine?
I think the county is running well, but I think there's more that we can do. And here's the reason why. The partnerships that we had in the 1990s were awesome. It was unbelievable how we worked with the Horizon Council, how we worked with communities, and we went after the type of funding and the types of opportunities that really strengthened Lee County. All right. And let me give you one other area that we should touch on, by the way, in this regard, that I think the county can do more, and that's clean water. If anybody's being affected by clean water, it's the beaches. And the reality is these releases from Lake O, we all know have been damaging. I remember the drought in 07, 08.
Okay, but don't jump ahead on me. We'll get to that. We want to talk about water, obviously, but so it sounds like you're in agreement that the county is being run well.
I believe the county is being run well, but I honestly believe we have a whole nother gear that we can hit. And I believe that I know.
In what way, though? I mean, the county seems to be growing leaps and bounds. The The taxers seem like they're stable. What do you think is missing?
What's missing is how we have to build the types of partnerships to go after further solutions. I moved up Lee
Further
Boulevard.
solutions to what? To what problems?
Let me give you an example.
Okay.
That Alico Road extension
Yeah.
is very important to this area.
Yeah.
Okay. When I came on board in 1992, Lee Boulevard, the only 2-lane road into the front of Lehigh Acres, okay, was supposed to get widened in 2010. I worked with DOT. We got that road built by 1998, and that is a 6-lane road. Then for Lehigh Acres and that major workforce area, we also then worked and got Daniel's extension done, another 4 lanes. And when we did Lee Boulevard, it was the citizens that came to me and said, we've got this idea for 23rd Street extension that if you build some of these bridges,
so are you saying that the
Street,
growth is too slow?
No, I'm saying that our ability to keep up with the infrastructure, we have to run as fast as we can.
Yeah.
So we ended up starting with 2 lanes. And by the time we were done, we had 14 lanes in the Lehigh Acres in just those 12 additional lanes in 14 years.
I think that there's no arguing that people want to live in Lee County, and people keep coming to Lee County. And if you even look at Colonial right now, that Colonial area by 75 when you get off where the new golf place went in, it's a nightmare during season. And I know that they're trying to reconfigure the whole thing there. Are you saying that if you're elected, these things are going to happen faster?
The goal is to first best identify how we can do it, such as 23rd Street extension, and then also figure out what funding we can go after and try to see how we can speed up the process. All right. I know how to do that. I fought the state and federal agencies before. I fought the state FDOT to get the $20 million grant because we're afraid it was going to come out of the state's allocation. And every time they went behind our back, we found out about it and we cut off the effort. And then I did the same thing with the federal government, especially with the Alico Road widening, where I ran into somebody that I didn't even know existed, which was a southeastern United States ambassador, if you will, from the White House. They actually had a regional director, and she made the phone call. When you make the phone call from above, from an elected official, for example, or someone that's directly affiliated that could affect their budget, it's amazing how things move.
So are you saying that Brian and Cecil and Kevin and those guys are not doing that now? Or Roger Desjardins, they're not doing it now?
This is not about trying. This is about effectiveness. I mean, the $20 million grant, for example, at 2.5 years. Yeah. That's a lifetime in politics. Yeah. But let me give you an example of what they did down here. We needed to dredge the Back Bay. And that dredging, we had to move up.
When you say down here, people might not know what you mean.
Back Bay of Fort Myers Beach, and it goes to San Carlos Island, and that's where the shrimp fleet goes in and out. Yeah. They were waiting 3, 4, 5 hours until there was a high enough tide to be able to come in because it needed to be dredged. I worked with the West Coast Inland Navigational District, Chuck Listowski, the executive director, and I helped work and guide him.
You're such
and
a name
work with
dropper.
The press. Well, I want you to know it was real.
Who is that guy? Who is it? Chuck Listowski.
Chuck Listowski.
Was he on Saturday Night Live, or that's somebody else?
That's somebody else.
Why?
Well, we got it moved up by 2. We got it moved up by 2 years.
You did.
Well, it was Chuck from the West Coast Inland Navigation District, and I was advising and giving him direction about how we could do it. I was bringing in, I don't remember her name, this great reporter. This is going to sound a little bit contradictory with Fox News. And we were actually doing some interviews from the Chamber of Commerce parking lot she was doing, and I'm feeding her the questions so that we could really expose what was essentially their slowing down of us being able to get this done.
We have a question from our live audience.
Sure.
Fort Myers Beach pays more bed tax into Lee County than any other municipality. How do you propose that Fort Myers Beach gets its fair share back?
So, well, a lot of it comes down to working with the Tourist Development Council, and the Visit Convention Bureau runs the day-to-day operations. The TDC are appointed people. All right. Yep. Bill Wachulis with Pink Shell is on that board, for example. So we need to work constantly towards the marketing that goes on for down here, and especially the beach renourishment projects. And let's face some facts, folks. Okay. The baseball stadiums are being paid out of that bed tax. Yeah. So the reality is there's already a chunk that's already spoken for because those bonds need to be paid.
Yeah.
All right. So it really comes down to how we market the co-op programs. So we need to fight to make sure those beach
it's only going to come back in marketing and beach renourishment. Well, there are only a select number of ways you can use that money, right?
And the other way is they'll help sponsor certain events that are for not-for-profits. They've been great in the past with the beach sand sculpting and the Pirate Festival, for example.
Both of which haven't happened in years.
I'm just saying in the past. Yeah. All right. So if there are other events, we can do that too. The reality is the bed tax, I don't see that going down. So it's really a matter of how to get the most effective use of that money. People need to remember Fort Myers Beach is critical to what type of Lee County we have because we're about the beaches. Okay. And many people that move here, move good paying jobs here with their companies, normally started by visiting Fort Myers Beach.
Do you think Fort Myers Beach has a good, fair, or bad relationship with Lee County, politics wise?
Well, as far as I know, they have a good relationship,
yeah.
And I'm going to make it even better. And one of the areas that I want to see us do, I want us to form a committee with the municipalities in the county that's going to work directly with the Water Management District about the releases of Lake O. And I know we're going to get to that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what we need to do is what affects these areas. We need to make sure that they have a voice at the table because nobody knows the successes and challenges of an area better than the people who are there.
Yeah.
And that's who we should be tapping
because that's
into.
what we need, another committee. We don't have enough committees in government that we need another one,
well,
right?
It's funny because a good friend of mine passed away, Petro from Beach Chamber. He had a little sign that said, God so loved the earth that he didn't send a committee. But the reality is task force, whatever it's going to be. But right now we need to have more say-so because when those releases take place, it really hurts the island. I don't want to smell any more dead fish.
I hear you on the releases. And I get it. And we've talked about that. We also talk about the large watershed that feeds a lot of nutrients into the river that is not coming from the lake. And so what can be done to mitigate some of that? Because recently I was looking at the releases, but nothing's coming out of S70, Moorhaven. It's coming out of Elva. And so whatever is happening upstream can cause some problems. So what can be done for that? Because I hear a lot about working with, South Florida Water Management District and managing Lake O, but that's not the only problem. That and septic tanks. So go.
All right. Well, first of all, we need to get behind the great efforts of Representative Adam Bottano. Okay, state delegation. He achieved last year over a $6 million appropriation out of the legislature. The governor, to his credit, signed it to get a number of waterfront properties off of septic and onto central water and sewer. We need to see that program expanded. All right, because they're right by the water. Any problems with those septic systems is going into the Caloosahatchee. We need to work with farmers and farms to try to get them as much as we can off of pesticides. And, drip irrigation is one example. All right, so the question is, aren't we smart enough to figure out how to do it where we're not going to have those invasions? And candidly, the city of Fort Myers, we need to work with them because they're doing a lot of dumping out there too that takes place with their wastewater system. So it needs to be cleansed and put out there. Do we know this for a fact? Of course we do. Because even with Lake O, the C43 is really a filtration system to filter it. So if we're doing it in the big picture, we need to do it in the smaller picture too.
John Ray Judah wrote an editorial recently taking a shot at the county that they're not doing enough for clean water. Kevin Ruane's been big on the clean water. He's got a lot of close contacts with the governor's office and up there in Tallahassee. What more could the county possibly do? It's really, I don't know as much as she knows about the water, but it's the Army Corps of Engineers and all these task forces that are set up. And there's a water district for this and that and the other thing. I mean, what more do you think the county can do?
Well, first of all, when I was in office, we had a regional water supply authority, and we used to have all these private entities around Lee County with their package plants. And Lee County Utilities began to buy them up. I mean, there were arm's length transactions to expand Lee County's system. Not only did it get more people off of septic and onto central, but also what it did is it created a backup system. So if there was a problem in an area, there's ability still to get people clean water and be able to get their wastewater out of there. So therefore, I've been involved with the Regional Water Supply Authority. We need to work with the FGUA, which is the Florida Government Utility Authority, which is currently running as a placeholder, Lehigh Acres, who has all these straws in the ground called septic and well, all right, and try to work towards getting central water there. That's in District 5. I'm already talking with somebody who already knows a federal program where we can start that process, and we need to do that planning and do it. That will get some of the pollutants that will be out of the system. Okay, so we need to do that. And by the way, I got that from the campaign trail. That's the beauty of going out there and talking with people. And so we need to do that. I think we need to also seriously look at bringing, again, the stakeholders together, and we need to discuss. Focus creates the ability for improvement. And we need to have that focus and start really solving this in a way that can work for everybody.
So what is your grade for the board right now on clean water?
On clean water, I would say right now, somewhere around C+.
A C+. What's your grade for the county manager?
For the county manager, I would give him, I would say, a B plus. He's kept things calm, but I think there's more we can do.
What gets him to an A?
Well, I'd like to see more of a decentralized system and use your managers more and let them, frankly, earn their money more. They do things in a more centralized way. I think that getting more of these partnerships going, which they're going to be staffing, is a stronger way. And it doesn't just come from the county manager. It has to come from the board.
Yeah.
But the reason you got to give them a good grade is because we've kept taxes down and it's been working. And even with the sheriff, again, with a big budget, do people feel safe and is it doing it?
Yeah.
So those constitutionals, give them credit too.
Grade the board overall.
I'm sorry, what?
The board.
Yeah, well, the board overall, yes.
What's their grade?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'd also give the board, and I'd say I'd give them a B or a B plus. I think that they've done well, but I think we can be more effective. But I can be a hard grader too. Ask my kids.
So I wanted to ask about, again, you're having a lot of people come down here. You need a lot of people to work. With the price of housing, for workforce housing, affordable housing, whatever terminology you want to use, what are your ideas to increase that and to give everyone a place to live that they can afford, that's safe and reasonable?
Well, we need to better recognize the fact that normally by the time you need affordable housing, the prices around the area that you need the affordable housing have gone up drastically. It makes it very difficult to catch up. So we need to be smarter about what we do. And I think that we need to start looking at where we have the transfer stations for the bus system. Okay. Why? Because that provides transportation for people. For Fort Myers Beach, I would look at the Pine Ridge Road, for example, Summerlin one, and see how we get more affordable housing around there. I think we need to try to come up with a better solution on how we can get trolleys easier to and from the beach, especially during what I know we call down here the 100 days. And the reason why is because we can affect the workforce's ability to come here. I remember, and I think they're still doing it, South Seas Plantation at the end of Captiva, they actually provide a certain amount of housing for their people, because not only is it a long distance, but the time and the cost makes it prohibitive, and it's actually cheaper for them to do it that way. I don't want to see Fort Myers Beach turn into that, because I love the mom and pops down here. I love the fact that you don't have a lot of franchisers down here. So it really makes this island very special and very much about themselves and not about the franchises.
So how would you get during those 100 days? I mean, even if you had more trolleys, they still have to go through that gauntlet. So what would be some other idea? I mean, helicopter. It's
not,
really
not,
we're going to airdrop people in here.
Not a catapult. Okay. But
or a water taxi. I mean, even if there was a water taxi to get to the base of the bridge,
we need to sit down with stakeholders that are affected, and we need to start talking about what the problem is and how to come up with solutions. Whether it's a water taxi, whether it's a way to do a trolley lane, something to make it more desirable. There are ideas out there that do work. You go to a theme park, they transport you in, for example. Okay, so it's not like we're trying to that we're inventing the universe here, but we have to be smarter about what we do. I do not believe a mid-island bridge, for example, is an answer to the traffic over 3 months. You couldn't afford to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be smarter about what we have and be able to work with the stakeholders and see what people are going to be willing to buy into. But there's no question affordable housing has to be high up on the list, because that directly affects what Fort Myers Beach is about. And we want people to be able to afford to come here and enjoy the beach rather than, and by the way, this isn't like Sanibel. No disrespect to Sanibel, but let's face facts. When we were trying to do the variable pricing, they wanted to raise the toll, not lower the toll. So as a result, that's not an answer on how Fort Myers Beach works.
So Lee County owns Estero Boulevard. Would you be in favor of bicycles only, no cars?
On Estero Boulevard?
Yeah.
No, because people that...
I'm kidding. It was a joke. I'm just kidding around. I mean, I don't know how you could do that. Well, John, we're almost out of time. So why should people vote for you this coming August?
So, well, I mean, my planks are low taxes, quality of life, which has to do with the business side as well as preservation, quality of life, also infrastructure and clean water. So we can certainly start with that. I've been in Lee County since full-time since 1984. I actually met my wife on Fort Myers Beach.
Wow.
Believe it or not.
And you were the chamber president down here, too.
I was chairman of the board, the youngest chairman of the board in 1987, believed to be in the nation, which I was very flattered.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I ran the chamber 4.5 years during the downturn, which, by the way, word of advice to anybody, do not want to run a not-for-profit during a major downturn. You're at the bottom of the feeding funnel.
Mm-hmm.
But
We're
yes.
at the bottom of the funnel too here.
Oh, well. Well, we love Fort Myers Beach. So much of my family has been directly rooted to Fort Myers Beach because we have the warehouse right off here. But voting for me means that we call it the power of we. And what that means is that we are going to build these partnerships with the communities, with the municipalities, with surrounding counties, so that we can turn around and really continue to solve problems. I love ribbon cuttings are my favorite days. My second favorite days are groundbreakings because that is a promise to a ribbon cutting, an improvement for our community. So if you vote for John Albion, I can hit the ground running. Keep in mind, it's only a 2-year term because the remaining term of Frank Mann. I can hit the ground running, and I know that we're going to build these types of partnerships, going to carry on again for a long time and make this county much, much better, even than what we are today. We love it today. We're going to love it even more. We're going to build ownership, the power of we, not me.
Where can you find, people can find you? You have a campaign website.
Yes. You can go to electjohnalbion.com. You can contribute on there too, by the way, but you can also read more about me.
You're going to need money. Every candidate needs money. Yeah,
absolutely. I say money it's like having a car. Money is like the gasoline, but the car is the votes that get you to the finish line. And
I'll explain that to you later, dear.
Oh, thank you.
That's so. And please vote for me August 23rd. For John Albion, and we're going to have a great partnership.
It's important for people to know that even though Ray Sandelli kind of is not in charge, but he's the person that most people call down here first. Everybody gets to vote in the board seats. Yeah, it's important for everybody to know that Republicans can go and vote in the primary day for you if they want to, or for Greenwell, or for whoever's on the Republican ticket. Everybody can go vote in the primary. But you need to remember that everybody votes countywide for the county reps.
Well, in the primary, all Republicans can vote.
That's right. There's no Democratic
primary.
Right.
And the others can vote in any nonpartisan race.
Yeah.
Okay. So everyone has a reason to go to the ballot box.
Totally confusing. I just made it worse. It would be much easier if everyone had a district that they would vote in, but that's...
Well, actually, the way I look at it is this. If you can hire me and you can fire me and you pay me, I work for you. I work countywide.
Yeah.
When I worked on the Midpoint Bridge and getting that program, that wasn't in my district. Okay. So I think it's a benefit.
Yeah.
All right. And I will, for anybody that go back to your history class, civics class, when the Congress was made up in Washington, the people, the House of Representatives were considered to be the rogues because they would only represent their district, but because the senators came from the state legislatures, that they would be the stable side. And I think it's much more stable for Lee County, even though it's easier to run single member. I think it's better that it's countywide so that I have a responsibility to everybody because I'm spending your money.
How much does a county rep get paid again? Like $75,000 or something, right? It's
county
crazy.
Commissioner?
Yeah, county
Actually,
commissioner.
it's just over. It's like $100,000, $300.
Holy smokes. I would want that job too, just for the money. Don't you think it'd be worth the job for the money?
Everybody that's willing to pay the filing fee can get in the game. So
wow. That's a lot of money. And you probably get 100% health insurance. Roger runs the whole show. She said to me last night, she thinks you guys just sit in the office with your legs up on the desk and just kind of taking calls.
Well, what's important?
Not true.
What's important to me is return on investment. And I think bringing in 14 years, over $50 million in transportation funding and over $10 million for preservation of property. And at the time, paying me between $50,000 and $80,000
Oh, you got robbed back then. Now look at them. They're all making a killing.
Well, it was a while ago, but what I'm pointing out is
Did you save any of that money?
A great return on investment.
Were you able to save some of that money?
Well, I invested some of it on Fort Myers Beach. I know that.
Cool.
So,
well, John, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate you putting up with Kim's nonsense, and good luck in the race.
Thank you for putting.
How dare the governor do that to you? It's crazy.
So,
thanks a lot.
Great. Well, thank you, Ed. Thank you, Kim.
John Albion, everybody, running for the Lee County Board, and the primary is next month. So remember to get out and vote. And we are going to be back right after this with the brand new principal of the Fort Myers Beach School, Dr. Traci Kohler. So stay tuned. Coming up next. I want to tell you about the Royal Scoop. Royal Scoop, you can see that little box up there. They are the official ice cream of Beach Talk Radio. We had them on the show a few weeks ago. As you know, they have 52 homemade flavors, all homemade ice cream. Royal Scoop is ice cream made by Royal Scoop for Royal Scoop with a 14% cream rate. They have been voted number one best customer service on the beach, number one best ice cream on the beach, number one best portion size. And I'm sure you can tell us about the portion size because you were there. I haven't been there yet. And number one, best value.
Oh, the ice cream?
Yeah, Fort Myers Beach Royal Scoop.
They give very good portions. I've had a couple of different flavors. Always a treat. And
Very good. And sugar-free flavors, dairy-free flavors. They tried to write this up and tongue twist me. Coffee flavors, candy bar flavors, sorbets. You thought I was going to say sorbet, didn't you?
Yeah, I was afraid.
I
was afraid.
They have the incredible key lime pie, award-winning rum raisin bread pudding, fresh cut smoothies, and they are open from 12 o'clock to 9 o'clock daily. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a big round of applause for the brand new principal of the Beach School? I always feel like I need to sit up straight and make sure I have my manners. Dr. Traci Kohler.
Well, I was afraid with your mispronunciations, she would be here. And
Did I say your
no
name
way.
wrong?
No,
you were
in case you
perfect.
said the sorbet.
Oh, I see.
And I call it sherbet, so I had a couple hours in
Well-
there apparently.
Please explain the doctor. You're
Oh, yes. So many students think that I'm a doctor of medicine, but that's not true. PhD in educational leadership. So did a lot of studying on what makes great leaders and what makes great schools.
And where did you go to school?
So my undergraduate is at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Go Badgers.
Okay. I was like, go
Somebody.
Not sure what
Yeah.
animal.
Go Badgers.
wait a second now. The
Yes.
Badgers, is that the team that Dawn Thomas's son graduated from,
You
and now
know,
he
I
just
don't know.
got
That does
drafted?
sound
Anita's
familiar.
favorite
Does
team
sound
and the whole
familiar.
thing.
Mm.
All those people live on the beach. I'm sure that eventually,
sure
if you're,
they'll- we
Yep.
find a way to gravitate
do they
to
have
each other.
red? Are they red?
Red and white.
I see. I think it's the
Yeah.
Wisconsin Badgers.
Yeah, like there's no other team that
Yeah.
wears
Hey.
red.
There's other Big Ten schools with red and white, but anyway, yes, we'll find each
So,
other.
So-
okay.
Before I ask you about what a PhD is, of course
She
we
just
have.
said that.
I know.
Oh.
We're gonna ask you a speed round of questions,
All right,
Doctor.
I'm
Okay.
prepared.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What
Dog or
is-
cat person?
Cat.
favorite TV show growing up?
Ooh, oh goodness gracious. Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, good one.
Dukes of
That's a good
That's a
one.
brand new one.
Yeah.
Who are the three most interesting people you know and why outside your family?
Oh, I was going to choose my husband first.
Can't do
'cause he's
that.
So
See, that's a
interesting.
no-brainer.
Oh man. Okay, three most interesting people. I guess I would have to say my neighbors down the street.
Okay.
They've done a lot of great things in businesses,
Okay.
and I've learned a lot from them on
All
how
right.
to make
You're
connections.
going into too much detail.
No, that's
Oh,
all right.
man.
Next two,
That's what educators
speed round.
do.
Speed
You didn't
round,
push
Doctor.
anybody else.
Gosh. Oh man.
3 is a lot.
Dr. Kent Peterson at the University of Wisconsin.
Of course, we love
Madison.
Kent. We've had him on before.
And my
He's
other,
a badger.
yes, he would be a badger.
Good one, dear.
He
Good
would
one.
be a badger.
A little bit of a bell for you. Third person, Doctor. We'll try to hesitate a little bit, give you
Um,
some thinking time there.
Gosh, probably my professor at FGCU, Dr.
He's so interesting, you can't
no,
remember his
he's
name.
my instructional technology person. I talk to him all the time.
I've taken
so-
instructional technology
You
too.
have
Yeah,
that.
Yeah,
of course
You
not.
need to take some.
What if you had 30 minutes and a tape recorder? Who would you like to interview? Can't be any of those three you just mentioned.
Those are
Does it have
too
to be someone
similar.
alive or
No, it
no,
doesn't have to be alive. No.
No.
We love interviewing dead people all the time.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna have to pick someone alive.
No.
It can be anybody you want.
Yeah, it can be anybody you want.
Anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Thank
okay, let's
Can't
see.
be Thomas Jefferson because
Why?
that's what John Albion said.
Oh, okay. No,
Oh,
Thomas
okay, so no
Jefferson is
Thomas
off your list.
Jefferson. Okay, I guess I would have to pick Marie Curie. Marie Curie.
Oh.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, she's a
Marie
scientist.
Curie, of course.
Yes, she did a
Scientist.
lot of studying in the medicine field, and
Okay.
love to
That was
see
a good
how.
one.
Yeah.
What one goal has eluded you, Doctor?
A goal that has eluded me.
This is turning into 3 minutes, but it's fascinating.
I know, but these are
good questions.
interesting questions. Well,
Thank
my
you.
latest goal was always to be the principal of a school, and now that I've accomplished that, I guess.
Yeah. That's a brown nose answer right there, but good
No,
one.
it's the truth.
Really?
It is the truth.
Swimming the English Channel.
Oh, good Lord.
I didn't know you were a swimmer.
I guess it would be to go visit London because we had to cancel our previous London trip.
What is your most embarrassing moment in life?
So one of my most embarrassing, oh Lord, I can't believe I'm telling this story.
It's just us three.
Yeah, right. It was in high school.
Okay.
It was before a basketball practice.
Uh-huh.
I was a sophomore, and the boys' varsity basketball team was practicing in the gym. And I had a teammate who was rather, I don't know, try to do funny things to people. And so she decided that she wanted to not totally pants me, but right in front of the boys' varsity basketball team. Yeah.
Naked?
No.
You had
no.
undies on. Okay,
No, she
good.
wasn't that crazy.
That would have been bad
but that
news.
was really embarrassing.
And I can tell it's left an indelible mark upon you because you came up with
You've
that
never heard
one
that story.
really
Have you ever heard that
Yeah,
story?
'cause it's
Your
scarring,
husband has
right?
never heard that
Yeah.
story. How
They're
crazy is
chuckling.
that? Wow. Is there video of that he's thinking?
No, not back in
I
the
know.
80s. Come on now. Thank goodness
Can
there
you
wasn't
imagine?
any of that
You'd
social
be
media
you'd be on
around.
I know,
TikTok
we
star
were
right
so-
now if that was
We were
happening.
that was,
We got
that's
out of
so
there.
lucky. Yeah.
So
Unscathed.
how
well,
har-
not totally unscathed.
No documentation.
How
That's right.
hard is it to get a PhD? Like how many years of school?
It's really a study of persistence.
Yeah.
Because coursework, I'm one of those people who love going to school. So it wasn't that the courses were hard. They were challenging. Statistics, 3 semesters were definitely challenging, but it was just persistence. And then after the coursework is done, I had never believed this story when I heard it, that people don't finish because it's just the writing portion. But it took me a year and a half to start writing. I think you're
What do you mean writing portion?
the,
What do you
the
mean?
PhD,
C
the
part.
dissertation part.
Like how
That's
long?
the
How
thing.
much writing is it?
That's a great question. Mine ended up being about
You see, you make a face, and then the teacher says, "Good question, Ed." So no question is a dumb question. How dare you? say
She's
that?
ended up
trying to be
being-
nice.
It ended up being about 70 pages worth of writing.
Like
research.
handwriting, like not even typing. You were writing it out by hand.
No, I was able to use
I see.
a computer.
Good
IBM back
Lord.
there.
We're good.
And how long do you have to complete the PhD? Isn't there a
As long
time
as-
limit?
There is. I think it's 10
10 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
I
know
paid
some
tuition
people
with no
do.
work for
You
a year
have
and a
10
half.
years to finish
Yeah.
70 pages. Like
No, it's not just that. You
It's
gotta
a lot
It's
of
all
research.
it's
It's
the
everything.
analysis of the data and the research, and then your conclusions and your limitations of your study. And
so, what did you write it on?
so the title is The Cost Effectiveness of Supplemental Educational Programs in a Selected School District, which basically means
That's a long
I
title.
studied the after school effectiveness of students participating in terms of their academic achievement.
So it had
Yeah,
to.
but I think that has some relevance to it. I mean,
Yeah.
some I think are so far fetched. You're like, all right, but that, yeah. So what did you in the analysis? What did you walk away with?
The study with the data concluded that students needed at least 10 hours in an after school program before you're going to see some academic gains.
And by after school program, and you mean an academic,
yes,
right?
an
right.
academic,
So like a
after-school
tutoring type of situation.
Exactly.
Like, and when you say after school, do you mean exercise and getting outside, or it could be? What are you saying? What is that a dumb question?
Well, no, it's not dumb. It's just you
Because
weren't
kids don't
hearing.
get
it's true.
exercise
We're
anymore.
listening.
Yeah, so it's really like an academic tutoring program.
Okay,
you
not-
need
not-
at
That's what
least
she just
you
said.
need-
Here,
that.
need
you
at
really
least
started
10
to get on my
hours.
nerves today with
Am I
Am I going to
criticizing
have to
me.
split you two? Huh? I can
Yes.
sit in the middle.
Yes.
Obviously,
Yes.
proximity
It's
is a
gonna be-
changing behavior.
We're going to have to
so.
stay after show today because
Yes.
we're in trouble
You're
from
gonna get
arguing.
suspended if you don't cut it out.
You
So,
too.
So where were you
yeah.
before?
lost my
The
track
beach
here.
school?
Yeah.
So before the beach school, I was at Bonita Springs Elementary as
Okay.
the assistant principal. And before that, had spent some time in Collier County. I was an assistant principal in Immokalee. I was a coordinator and director at the school district there for many years. And then before that, a middle school reading and social studies teacher.
So when
I
you
think middle schools are tough. The toughest.
You either you're molded to be that middle school teacher. I could never be a kindergarten teacher, but I could be a middle school teacher.
So when you see the beach school principal job opening and you're an assistant,
Mm.
do you look at that like say, oh, this is going to be a lot of competition for that spot.
One, yes, absolutely. And two, I'm going to do my best to get it because we had a school counselor that shared positions between Bonita Springs Elementary and the Beach School. So I had some insight into how amazing the Beach School is. And when the position became open, when Karen was retiring, I did my own research, started to look at data, started to look at the trends, kind of understood about community connections. And so really was excited about the opportunity and then gave it my best.
Do you know how many people were up for looking into?
I don't.
They don't tell you that.
No, they don't tell you. But there was a lot of individuals there that morning up at the district
Okay,
office.
so you have to go to who interviews you? The school board?
Oh, that's a great question. So this year they did something.
You have to stop saying
No,
that.
Apparently
you should not let people on to know that we have a little competition going because now she's not going to say it.
Oh.
It's a fair game until she's losing.
No,
Doc. She doesn't like to lose.
All right. So the district did something new this year, which I thought was really creative. They had 3 rooms that you went in and interviewed. One room was parents and a student in a community, not necessarily from the Beach School, but representative of the district. Another room was all about data, achievement data, attendance data, just data galore. And then the third room was you met with the executive directors or leadership of the district, and you had to talk about some certain leadership skills and give specific examples of things of how you've grown, your school in terms of achievement and those things. And it was intensive. And I was really, proud when I got the call that I was selected as the finalist.
Cool.
And so very humbled.
So you've been down to the school, obviously, met all the teachers and everybody.
Yeah, so one of the first things I did was have one-on-one conversations to get to know them, what their own professional growth goals were. Learn about the history of the school. One of my questions was, what is one thing I should never change at the Beach School?
What did they say?
I'm giving you a bell for
that.
That
is a great
good
question. You got
that is a great
first time a guest has ever gotten their own bell.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Next time
Put that feather in your cap.
All right.
Next time you come down, we'll give you an apple.
Okay. Very good. They said the 5th grade students writing their names in the concrete on the sidewalk. So if you go to the Beach School, you'll see many years of students' names in the.
How do they write their names in the concrete?
Well, they pour the wet concrete.
Oh, new concrete.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, there's like slabs that are poured.
Now
and they go way back.
Can I just ask a question?
I guess so.
The Beach School, is unique. So what are some of the unique challenges or things that you're looking forward to about because of the size and that it sits in a small community?
That's a great question.
Thank
too.
you.
Oh, there goes the bell. It is now on the floor.
So who's the sore loser here? Go ahead.
Oh,
I'll ring it myself.
Well, what I love about the Beach School is its size.
Yeah.
It's very similar, minus the Catholic school nuns.
Okay.
That I had growing up, meaning in terms of a small class to teacher ratio, the community involvement, the historical aspect. The building that I went to elementary school in was built in 1899.
Wow.
So there's the historical part of the Beach School. I love everything about it. The staff there are invested. Many of them have been there for decades.
Yep.
And they're amazing teachers. They do what's right by kids. So it's really nice to go into a school and meet staff. And then, gosh, this past 2 weeks, I've met so many community members that are supportive of the school.
Oh, yeah.
And
a strong PTA.
Yes. And I had breakfast with them. And we went over the budget for next year. And I'm telling you, it's like the best school.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited
to be
able to be part of it. It's a dream job. It's a dream job with a lot of positive pressure to continue excelling in our student achievement area and to support our teachers in their own professional growth. So
how many students go to the school?
Just yesterday, 73.
So every once in a while you hear people talking about 73 kids. A school, should there really be a school with only 73 kids? So, I mean, obviously you think there should be, but what do you do to maintain or keep a school open with only 73 kids in a county that has schools that are gigantic?
Oh, I know it. One of the things that I want to do is talk with the local businesses. When I spoke to the Chamber of Commerce with with Jackie, we talked about being able to get with our employees here on the island, and if they work here on the island, the possibility of bringing their children with them, and then they would attend school at the beach school. So we can increase enrollment with some of the other, like Margaritaville opening up, when that attracts more employees as well, having them be able to bring their children onto the island if they don't live on the island, and be able to come to school, working with the district to get some waivers so that families are able to do that. That will help us increase enrollment.
Have you said when you went in, I think I need to change this?
No, there's been some great traditions. I think so on the broader sense, no, but on the microscopic kind of looking forward, what's going to make our beach school special. One of my goals is to increase the STEM lab. So science, technology, engineering, and math. And we're going to take a look at computational thinking in the way to bring in some robots for coding.
Neat.
We're going to partner with FGCU to take a look at the quality of our water and the nutrients that are in there, and have our students really become aware of the environment in which they live. Engineering is elementary is one curriculum piece that really brings forth engineer think. And so having a special program like that, I think will really encourage parents in the community to talk about the beach school, to get people interested in the beach school. And then I had the fortunate opportunity to hire an art teacher who is a practicing artist, and she has the ability to connect to her other artist friends. So when it comes time to teach collage, we can bring in a true artist into our school to have our students learn about the techniques of collage, for example. So we have some unique things coming to the beach school. So
very nice.
Very excited about that.
I was thinking this morning that, when season is or off season, there's so many unique people here that have so much interesting and experience in business or whatever, that would be an opportunity. I mean, I know safety of having people come in, but they can be vetted, that there's just such a rich group of people here on the beach that could come in as guest speakers or
Sure.
volunteers, read to the kids, that kind of stuff, that you have not a captive audience, but kind of, really have a lot of people.
So working with the nonprofits, I've learned a lot about those types of talents that we have here on the beach. And so I look forward to getting them through the volunteer process and getting them into our school.
So Michelle has a question. She wants to know what your opinion is on school choice.
School choice. Well, I think I'm kind of promoting the portion of it about having waivers so students can come to the beach school. So in that aspect, I'm looking to open up the enrollment piece. So
I don't even know, because I apologize, but do we have school choice in Lee County? I don't even know.
Well, students apply for like their top 3 or 4 schools, and then the district takes into consideration some factors, and then they assign students to their school.
So not 100% school choice.
There's always limitations with school choice in terms of the enrollment size of each school. So that's my understanding of how students register in Lee County.
Now, do you live on the beach?
I do not live on the beach, but I live in North Naples. So basically,
come
I
up
hop
through that
right
way.
on Bonita Beach Road, and I come from the south.
And you'll come from, okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
It seems in the last few years, parents have been a lot more involved in schools and school board meetings because of the politics of what's going on in the country. Do you think that's a good thing? Or you want more parents to be more involved in what's going on with the schools? Or you want the teachers to just be, trust the teachers are doing the right thing?
So in the couple of decades that I've been in education, I've gone to many school board meetings, and parents have always come to school board meetings to voice their opinions. And what I appreciate is that parents and community members come to meetings with the best interest of their children at heart. So I never take anyone's concerns or approach to something as anything positive or negative, but that they're coming from a good place. And so I know parents may be more vocal in what they expect from their school district and their school and their children. Either side of whatever issue you're on, it's always from a good place. And there's a way to get your voices heard and then move forward in a direction that's, potentially agreeable to all involved.
Are schools doing enough of reading, writing, and arithmetic these days, or is it kind of start to come in from the fringes
Well,
with
you're
other
dating
things?
yourself with
Reading, writing,
arithmetic.
and arithmetic.
You know, whatever.
You know, them
Teaching people
Rs.
about the history of America and things like that. That almost seems like you can get canceled when you say stuff, or not teachers and principals, but is it on track the way it should be, in your opinion?
So I just completed our master schedule, and we have time in the school day for all those subjects mentioned. We have time for reading. We have time for intervention to support our students who may need some additional time, or enrichment if we want to expand their learning. We have time for math. We have time for science. We have time for social studies. What I really like the approach when it comes to social studies is that we're doing a lot of reading and looking at primary documents. So being able to use those primary documents in a way to bring it through the reading coursework is something that's real authentic and provides an opportunity for students to have those kinds of conversations.
What's the difference in your previous job and now you're a principal? How do you change mode of management when you become a principal?
Everybody has always said, once you sit in the seat, it's different.
Yeah.
And until you do it, they're absolutely right. So when you sit in the seat, you really get a great understanding that the buck stops with you. So, in the end, if there's compliments, complaints, it comes directly to you. So I'm excited because I can set the vision and course of the Beach School with some of the STEM related activities I talked about.
STEAM and STEM.
Yeah, bringing in the arts. That's
Right.
where the A comes in. We have Fibonacci, and we can certainly talk about science and how Fibonacci and art can blend right into that. But you have the opportunity to set the direction of the school. So with STEAM.
I'm laughing because her dad watches the show and he says, please don't drag your guest into our political craziness.
So anyway, that basically sums it up. Being able to set the direction and tone of the school is very cool.
Now, what about testing? Because it's people talk a lot about testing and putting a lot of emphasis and on
Angst.
kids.
Angst, right?
Yeah. That's better than what I was thinking. And so right now, going forward, is it clear what we're going to be using this next year?
So we have new curriculum that's come in for our grades 3, 4, and 5. And that has come along some different tools from the state to progress monitor. So what we're doing this year is we're progress monitoring 3 times a year to really see the growth of our students. And then at the end of the school year, when it's progress monitoring time 3, that really encapsulates how well our students have learned the academic content from the beginning of the year till the end of the year. It will be on computer with the exception of science. So the company that the state has an agreement with is computer-based. So that'll give us our results much quicker. And we can progress monitor along the way to make adjustments and interventions so that we can reach all of our students.
Do you think the online learning hurt kids at all when we were going through all that COVID stuff?
It depends on your demographic. There are opportunities for families who have different kinds of supports in the home to be there with their children while they're online learning. And there are different demographics where families have to be working, even if it was during a COVID time. And so students were online by themselves. And so I think this past school year was our time to kind of catch everybody up. And in our elementary schools in the entire district of Lee County, we've seen some great growth in our elementary students' achievement scores and learning gains, which is what we really focus on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we've kind of come off of that online learning, positive or negatively, and we're back in schools and we're seeing kids learn.
So
Now,
one of the,
can
go
I
ahead.
just
Yes,
ask,
go right ahead here. You're doing a lovely job today.
One of the other things, when I was down at Bay Oaks, the recreation director was talking about their summer program, and he must have mentioned to me, which really caught my ear, 2 or 3 times about the socialization aspect and how they really have an emphasis on teaching kids to socialize. One, because of coming out of COVID and being home, and maybe especially if they're a single child, but also with the devices. So what kinds of things are you seeing as kids' social development and the school's role in that?
Yeah. So one of the instructional strategies that I didn't say, good question.
Thank you.
I ended up with saying so.
The gig is up now.
I know. The jig.
Gig.
So
She's
one of
always
the
gotta
things
correct me.
our teachers do, and they do a fantastic job, is some cooperative learning structures. So students have specific roles in which they get together and learn together. It gives students the opportunity to interact with one another, to hear and see different perspectives, be able to give their perspective, back it up with things that they've read about, and have conversations. So I think the way that we structure school, of course, there's that direct instruction piece where students have to learn, but then there's that opportunity for them to apply what we learn. And then having those cooperative learning strategies really help students with that social piece that you're talking about.
When I was growing up, going to school in the horse and buggy days, one of the worst things you could hear in school is when the teacher would say to you, "I'm sending you to the principal's office." What is going to go through a kid's mind when a teacher says that at your school?
So if a child is going to the principal's office, it would have to be something that's an elevated kind of thing, because we have some great positive behavior intervention and supports at our school, where parents stay up to date on their child's behaviors in school, whether it's positive behaviors, behaviors that need to be redirected. Through different platforms, our teachers communicate with parents. So there's that opportunity to do corrective behaviors along the way, get it right away, practice the correct behavior, apply it, reflect on it. So by the time it gets to the principal's office, it's a little more serious.
So you got the yardstick ready to roll, right?
So I have what?
You got the ruler ready to roll.
Oh no, that was many moons ago with those nuns.
You brought the nuns up before.
The paddles are no more.
So there's always been one question that has eluded me about schools, that every time somebody from the school comes on, they just can't give me the right answer.
Oh, okay.
What's the difference between a number 2 and a number 3 pencil?
I actually know the answer.
You're kidding me.
No, I swear. So being a lefty, I know these types of things because we have to be careful of the smudging.
Yes.
So the number 1 pencil is a smudger. So nobody wants to use the number 1. The number 2 pencil is like the Goldilocks. It's not too much smudging. It's kind of the right lead consistency to write. A number 3 pencil is a little bit harder of a core of lead, and so it writes lighter. The number 2, like I said, is kind of like the Goldilocks.
There you go.
You just made all that up, didn't you?
Totally. How did I do?
No.
So the number 2 pencil was the only one you were allowed to use on those tests that we used to take.
Because it doesn't smudge.
I see.
The other numbers are too light, so the number 2 is like the sweet
I will
spot.
never ask anyone that question again. Always have to bring in the principal to know about the pencils.
Those old Scantrons.
What do you want the community to know about you that they might not know?
That I'm here as a servant leader, that I'm here to take the needs of the students and the staff to heart first and foremost, and that I'm here to create opportunities for learning. And I look forward to the community support in that area.
Well, we do have a question before we let you go,
Okay.
although we'll ask away. Ashley wants to know why you think the U.S. students have fallen behind in the world rankings in science and math. I don't know that's true, but I'm guessing that she knows it's true.
Right. So I know that there are other educational systems in the world where students are tracked more, meaning that early in life they create a pathway for students, and only certain types of students are tested in some of these international tests. And so the data is a little bit skewed.
Okay.
Again, I'll go back to the Beach School, in which we're going to offer some STEM integrated learning projects that I think will really be impactful on our students. And, there's already great academic achievement here at the school, so we need to keep pushing it forward.
Jeff, our friend at Royal Scoop, wants you to know that he'd like to meet you and support the school. What is the best way to contact you?
Traci K, TRACIK at leeschools.net.
I think what he means is free ice cream for all the kids.
I know, I'm
think
getting a
there
little
might be an
excited
ice
about
cream
that.
thing in there.
Yes. Any other questions before we let the new principal of the school go? Otherwise, you can get in touch with her. And thank you so much for coming on. I know I had one more question, but I completely forgotten what it is. So thank you so much for coming on. Anything that we can do to support you, or just let us know. But good luck there. And
thank you.
And
Looking
welcome
forward
aboard.
to it. All right. Thank you so much.
The brand new principal of the Fort Myers Beach School, Dr. Traci Kohler. Thank you so much and good luck. Thank you,
so much.
Traci. All right, everybody. One more guest before we go today. Michael Braun's joining us. But before he comes on, I want to let you all know that if you go to Beach Pottery today or tomorrow, anything that you get, any Vietnamese pot that you get, and they have lots of them, is 20% off. All you need to do is go to the Beach Pottery while they're open and tell them that you heard about us or them on Beach Talk Radio. And you're going to get 20% off. I showed you the video. I shot an Instagram video, my first one ever, this morning. I didn't know how to share it or anything like that. I didn't know how to shut it off, but I shot a video and I think it's on Instagram. And then I tried to share it on Facebook and somewhere else. I don't know. I sent it to somebody. I don't even know if they know who I was. But it's 20% off everything from Vietnam today and tomorrow. So stop by Beach Pottery. You know it's on the way to the beach on the right-hand side, and tell them that we sent you. Our final guest of the day is somebody that I've been trying to get on the show for the longest of times, but we just couldn't make it happen. And today's the day. Michael Braun is with us. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing fine.
It's a tough act to follow. The brand new principal of the school.
And John Albion.
Yeah,
those are pretty good interviews.
It's been a busy day. And Michael, you're here because you're taking a new job. You were with the news press for
17 years.
17 years, but in print for
45 years.
45 years. And now you're going on the dark side. You're coming on the audio side.
Well, I hear it's called the bright side, not the dark side.
So why did you decide to change jobs?
Well, because of that 45 years.
Yeah.
Because of the 45 years. I've done quite a bit in journalism. I've been a reporter. I've been an editor. I've been a designer. I had a column in Ohio, my previous newspaper, for 25 years. I wrote outdoors news, conservation, hunting, fishing, that kind of stuff. Everything I've done has kind of led to this point.
Yeah.
It's just natural now that I want to show people not an easier way, but a better way, a deeper way, a more complete contextual way to report the news. And I'm hoping to help WGCU do that.
You were one of the most respected reporters in Southwest Florida, in Lee County. You covered so much over the years. How do you get to build that reputation to become so trusted in the media? It's so hard these days.
Well, it's by being fair. It's by doing what journalism is supposed to do. You don't slant the news, and 99 and 44 and 100% of the reporters I know don't do that. The whole thing about fake news, it's in itself fake news. You give both sides. It's not the both sides thing. You give both views equal treatment when you're doing a news story. It's not an opinion piece. It's not, an editorial. It is the news. So you try and show people what's going on and let them make the decision as to what's actually happening.
It's so different these days.
Oh, it's completely different. I mean, when I started off on a Royal typewriter.
Yeah.
And now I can report the news on my iPhone. So it's been a sea change. It's been completely, totally changed around. It's easier in terms of gathering information. It's more difficult now trying to get people to believe you. So it's changed in one way and then changed the other way.
Do people believe the newspaper anymore? I shouldn't say anymore. I should have just said, do they believe the newspaper?
It's not so much the newspaper, it's the news. People, it's very difficult. Social media has changed the landscape.
Yeah.
Because anybody with a Facebook account can have an opinion. Before, if you wanted to talk about something, you put a soapbox out on the corner, maybe somebody would listen, maybe not. Now nobody can escape it.
Yeah. So you've covered crime a lot too in Lee County. First of all, I know you've been covering the unfortunate incident at the library, here.
Too. Yeah,
and
exactly.
So can you kind of tell us what your thoughts are on that situation, that case, and what you think might happen there?
Well, right now it's kind of not really in limbo, but they are actually going to do another kind of mental check on Mr. Souls. We'll see what happens with that. I mean, it's coming up, should be coming up to a trial. It should be coming up to having some kind of resolution.
Do you think there's going to be a trial? He doesn't look stable.
No, it's going to depend. I mean, could actually anybody be stable who actually did something like that?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So I wanted to ask you about, because we were talking about you cover crime. The sheriff's department here is unique in that it has pretty much its own media department. Like, they don't need anybody else. The sheriff has his own show, or he's I mean, it's a completely different world than it was when we would walk to the corner and the chief would talk to us as soon as he was done with his crime scene, and now
I got to tell you, it's since I started covering the sheriff's department, it's changed. 11 years ago, when I first walked into the sheriff's office, public information office, we were given a stack of reports. We'd go through the reports. We'd pick out the ones we wanted. They would redact them or cross out stuff we weren't supposed to know. And then we'd pay for them, and we'd walk off. And it would take maybe 45 minutes.
Right.
And at that point, they had maybe 3 or 4 public information officers. Now they have a whole cadre. They have, and they're mostly uniformed. There's some civilians as well. And you order your reports in the morning, and you may get them by 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon for stuff that like crimes that have been committed or people that have been arrested and that kind of thing. Now the immediate stuff, like on Tuesday when the gentleman out in North Fort Myers was having an issue, and they covered that.
Yeah.
You go to the scene and you get what you can get there. And sometimes there's a press conference, sometimes there's not. But it has a complete change in terms of how you gather the news at the sheriff's office. From Mike Scott to Carmine, it's changed. And I can tell you what, from one who Mike Scott wasn't speaking to for almost 6 years.
Really?
It's changed that way, and it's changed in other more kind of
what happened
nuanced
that Mike wouldn't talk to you?
Well,
you opened yourself up.
Oh,
for
that's
that,
fine.
I don't know the history of it.
I wasn't covering the story that caused it. We had a story about a supposed connection between Mike Scott and the Colombian cartel. He was a friend with somebody who had been a connection with that.
That'll do it.
Yeah. And so he decided not to speak to us anymore. For 6 years, I dealt with that because I came right after that.
Oh, I see. He wouldn't talk to the newspaper.
Well, we still get reports, but at press conference, I'll ask a question. He looks at me and turns to the next person next.
Yeah.
So I had to filter my questions through other media to get my stuff done.
Gotcha.
And at the end, I tell you what, Mike Scott had a lot of class. He called me up after he left and said he shouldn't have done that. He apologized.
Yeah.
So.
And his daughter is running for judgeship.
Right.
Yeah, we're going to have her on in a couple of weeks, which be interesting to have somebody on that's running for judge. So when you saw the 10-year-old perp walk, what did you think?
We're still covering that. I kind of cringed at that. That's the sheriff's. I mean, it's his prerogative. Whether he should have done it or not, I mean, that's still up in the court of public opinion.
Yeah.
We've done some stories on that, and we've had people, experts in law enforcement who kind of had never seen that before. I think maybe in retrospect, he might have decided to do something different. I'm not sure how that's going to play out.
I think most of the media that I see covering that is talking about the TikTok video that he put out with AC/DC or some kind of was a heavy metal. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, AC/DC song, something to do about machine guns or shooting.
Yeah, taking a perp walk to that level seems different. I mean, but there's going to be a certain portion of the community that thinks, hey, the guy's keeping us safe, and kids have been shooting up schools.
Yeah.
And so
he's got a lot of support. Carmine's got a lot of support in the county.
Yeah.
And he's well liked, and a lot of people believe in what he's doing and how he's doing it. How that plays out later on, we'll wait and see.
Do you think it's political? He just wants to run for higher office?
Everybody wants to run for higher office.
I see. That's a political answer if I ever heard one, Mike.
Hey, I've been doing this for 45 years.
What are you running for now?
I'm running for my life.
So when you decide, I'll let you ask the next one. I'm sorry for monopolizing this, but when this is a once in a lifetime chance.
I know.
You get to talk
I feel
to
like maybe I should have stayed on.
No, the GCU job is open and you've been at your job. It's probably comfortable. You can go to work, maybe not worrying that you're going to get fired, although newspapers aren't as good as they used to be working there. You're thinking you take the job. Now you've got to go in and resign from a job you've been doing for so long. Right. Was that easy for you, or is it like this is hard?
I wouldn't say it's easy. I saw an opportunity at WGCU. I'm still working for the news press, so I got another three weeks to go yet. But there's a lot of things happening down the road at WGCU that are exciting and that I want to be part of. And I put all the 45 years of what I had in the basket and said, this will translate very well to that. All the stuff that I've done, the last 11 years being breaking news, the senior breaking news reporter, I've had a blast. I mean, this has been the most fun time of my career, going out there, knocking heads with the police, knocking heads with witnesses, and trying to get to, and plus there's the competition. That's not really the competition. I mean, TV can be competition. The way I look at it, and I'm probably going to piss everybody off who I know in TV, I look at TV reporting more as infotainment than the news.
Really?
Because, I mean, there's certain times when I'll be covering the same event and I'll go home and I'll watch the report and I'm going,
won't be the
Was
same.
that the same? Were we
Yeah.
on the
Right.
same
No, I
day?
hear you.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, what I try to do, I dig as much as I can. You know, I'll use every single resource at my disposal to get to the meat of the news. And I think that gives what I do and how I present it a little bit more onus. I'm not onus, but a little bit more cachet, a
Mhm.
little bit more completeness than what you might see on TV. Now, there's some good TV reporters. There's some good stuff. And
Which ones?
They beat.
Which ones?
They beat my. No, you're not going to get me to say that.
So do you use paid informants? Like,
No.
is that what you're
No.
saying?
No.
Okay.
What
No,
kind of
here's
question
one-
is
I don't
that? I'd
know.
take a bell away for you on that one.
Here's one thing that you should
He's
know
at
about.
my disposal. So, do you have like, what do they call them? Stringers?
Sources, not
Sources.
stringers.
Sources. We have a lot of sources. But here's one thing that's going to be completely different from TV to newspapers. And I'm not saying the local TV does this, but we will not pay for information under any circumstance, because that taints what you get.
Sure.
How do you know what you're getting? Plus, for me to use somebody's information, their comments or quotes, I need to know, and I have to use their name, who they are, where they're from. A lot of times you'll see other reports where they'll show
Sources
somebody's hands or their feet and they're talking, but they never identify them.
Yeah.
How do you know those are actually people
telling the truth?
Yeah, exactly.
So you said breaking
You said-
news. You asked a question. Now it's my turn.
No,
You
I wanna ask-
you said breaking news in your last answer. What is breaking news anymore? If you
That's
watch
been
Fox or
so
CNN,
diluted.
everything's breaking news.
Yeah, I mean, to me, breaking news is something that happens right now, like a shooting or a plane crash or a really bad fire or car crash or a political thing, like the thing when Hertz finally came to town.
Yeah.
That was a huge breaking news story.
But how do you get it out as the newspaper? You're a newspaper. You
Yeah, but
don't.
we have digital now too.
Right.
Our mantra is digital first.
Right.
So it goes up online first.
Yeah.
Then gets in the paper.
So people have to go online, or are you sending them out a notification?
We
or?
do send out push notifications.
Gotcha.
I'll tweet my stuff out almost immediately. So
Right.
for all my 10 or 12 readers. So
Yeah, Twitter isn't a big thing down here. I don't know if people don't. What is this? Mostly.
I get picked up and retweeted quite a bit.
Yeah. I'll have to follow you on the Twitter. Go ahead, dear. Your question.
All right. So I'm reading, what
Long
you-
resume,
yes. And so you talk about, your experiences. Can you give us a couple examples of stories you did that would fall under the terrifying, gripping, and tear-inducing?
Wow. Okay, I'll go right back to my
That was close.
first.
That was, he almost said it. Go ahead.
I'll go right back to my very first job. I worked as a reporter for the Morning Journal in Lisbon, Ohio. It's a little 6-day daily in the Appalachian foothills. There was a school bus crash I had to go cover. So I'm going out to the scene. I'm walking up to it, and there's a police officer standing in the middle of the road. Pearl handle revolvers on both hips, saying, "You can't take any pictures." And I just look at him, so I raised my camera and took pictures. I said, "Thanks a lot, officer," and turned around and walked away. Turns out that he was the bus driver's son.
Oh.
But that was, that was for a young reporter, that was kind of, intimidating, but I didn't let it stop me. I still got the picture and I still got the story.
Right.
Tear-inducing, I did one 3 years ago. A gentleman had called up, talked to another reporter. They didn't have time, so they shifted it to me. Turns out he was trying to find information on his mother. He didn't have any information. I went online. I did all kinds of deep diving in our archives, found out she'd been murdered here in Fort Myers. They actually found her body in a trash bag in the river, cut up. He didn't know any of this stuff. He thought his mother had died in a car crash in Germany. It was a long, involved story involving adoption and his father, who was in the military. And we did this really nice long piece. He found out what happened to his mom. He found out family members he didn't know he had. It precipitated a family reunion. So that was something that made me feel really good that I could be part of something like that.
Awesome.
So, Mike, what is that guy going to steal some of our merch? Is that what
I
he's
don't
doing
know.
over there? He's just acting goofy. So, what's going on with the newspaper business? I mean, it used to be newspapers were daily, and then now they're not daily, and now the Fort Myers News Press owns the Naples Daily News, and unfortunately, the Sandpaper down here folded because it's. Go ahead, dear. It's I know it's a tough business because everything has to be now, and then it's so costly to run a newspaper. So, but the newspaper reporters were always the ones that had the detail. Like you say, breaking news. You can break news on Twitter, but I'll always read your stories because they could be, lengthy with detail that you're not going to get in a 30-second soundbite.
Well, we probably don't have time to go into how the depth of what happened in the newspaper business. When I first started, the newspapers were king. I mean, that was part of the golden era still for the newspapers. Social media probably is the biggest thing that happened just to level the playing field for news all the way around. TV is also in a precarious position with some of the stuff going on in TV news, canned reports that go like to 3 or 4 different areas across the United States and that kind of thing. So, I mean, but newspapers have, they've found that they're going to have to try and do something different, try to do something different. And they've tried several different things. I mean, Gannett, which is my company's owner, the USA Today. We bought Naples. So I work for both Naples and Fort Myers. And we're getting by. We're not going to go away next week. We're still here. We're still viable. We're still covering news. It's up to the readers and the people who buy the paper to see if that's what they want.
The thing with the digital, whether it's a newspaper or TV, it's so unuser friendly, the digital sites. There's ads flying and videos popping up and things like that starting. It's impossible to read a story because after a while you just get so frustrated because you're trying to close things off. And I just want to read the story. I mean, so it almost is like you don't want people to read it digitally because you're aggravating the shit out of them.
I got to tell you, Ed, for old guys like you and me, you're right. For people who've grown up social media on digital, it's second nature. I don't think that it really bothers them. It bothers the older audience. Now, for newspapers, we have kind of an older audience. We still have a lot of people in Southwest Florida who are newspaper readers, who are subscribers. They're usually, not always, but they're usually the older crowd.
Sure.
Now, with digital, we're grabbing more and more younger crowds. And there's other things that the Gannett and News Press and Naples Daily News are doing to try and extend their reach.
It's like radio, though. The younger crowds are not coming to radio and newspaper.
Well, not regular radio. Now, digital radio is a lot different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But, I mean, coming from the radio business, you're playing 12 minutes a stop set, and then kids are like, I'll turn on my Spotify. I don't need to listen to all those commercials. They might be able to put up with 1 or 2.
Well, see, WGCU is going to be different. WGCU, I mean, we've got a lot
Tell us
to
what
offer.
you're going to be doing there.
I'm managing editor, so I'll be working with a stable of reporters. I'll still be doing some reporting, and like I said, I haven't started yet, so I'm not got into the depth or details, nitty gritty. But I'm extremely excited. I'm really looking forward to this.
Now, a stable of reporters. How many are there?
There's a. Let me put it this way: there's a couple, and there's going to be more.
Yeah, and it's TV and radio.
Yes, it runs the whole spectrum, then digital and everything else too.
So, do you think that you'll be doing more on the TV side, on the radio side, or it's a combination of everything?
It's a combination of everything.
Like, give us an example of something that WGCU would be covering or doing differently than you might be doing now.
Wow. It's not so much different. It's just the depth and the reach. I mean, WGC is really heavy in environmental type stories. We've got a really good environmental reporter. We're going to be doing investigative stuff. They did a story here about a month or 2 ago about those 2 people down in Naples who were doing the collecting for charity, and they broke that story before anybody had it.
Okay. All right. So when do you start there?
22nd.
What did you think? I'm going back and forth here, but what did you think of what the governor did with appointing Greenwell yesterday, right? When there's basically 3 weeks before the primary. I mean, how does that happen?
Nothing the governor does surprises me. Let me say that.
Yeah.
I really haven't been that much involved in political type stories. So anything I say, I just found out about Greenwell when I saw a tweet last night. I'm not sure what the method to that madness was.
Do you think DeSantis is going to be the president? He's going to run for president and he has a chance to be elected? What do you think?
It's going to depend what Trump does. I mean, Trump's made noises that he wants to run again.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Favorite story you ever covered around here was what?
Oh, God. That's favorite story. Wow. Probably that one where I helped that gentleman find what happened to his mom.
Yeah.
Because that was a couple month journey, and it really took a lot for me to get to the details of what happened to her.
When you watch TV and you watch old movies about newspapers, you see these gigantic Washington Post newsrooms. What's it like at the newsroom here? Is it a big giant newsroom, or is it four guys sitting around a desk?
For the last 2.5
You've
years, it's been my
from
living
home.
room.
Yeah.
But before, it was your typical newsroom.
Yeah.
You could hear. I mean, you're not going to hear the clack in the typewriters
Sure.
anymore.
Yeah.
But you could hear keystrokes, and you can hear people talking, and phones ringing, and the TV on the wall spewing out what's going on lately, and that kind of thing. So,
what do you think of how the county's running Lee County, the county board? Do you think they do a good job? Does the newspaper have a good relationship with them? They also have a PIO department, which I actually like.
Mm-hmm.
They're very helpful there.
Yeah. Well, the person running the county PIO is a former news press reporter, Betsy.
Yep.
So we have a good relationship. I mean, it's not contentious.
Sure.
It's not, we're not in their hip pocket. They're not in our hip pocket. There's times when it can be contentious. So you try and keep that wall. You can be friendly, but you don't want to be in somebody's pocket.
Right. So the other question I had for you is podcasting. What kind of podcasts do they have at WGCU?
Oh, there's a lot of them. I was just listening to one the other day. It was really interesting. It was called Three Songs.
Oh yeah, I've heard that one. Yeah.
And one of our own reporters was on Janine Zeitlin, who I call Jay-Z.
So the host goes in and invites people from the community, and they talk about three of their favorite songs.
What three songs kind of like had important aspects in their life?
Yeah.
And then they play a snippet of the song and they talk about it. It's really interesting. I mean,
I don't think I could ever come up with three songs that meant shit to me. Could you?
Oh, I've got such a wide, eclectic music interest. I could definitely
that had an impact in your life.
Probably.
Wow. I'd have to ask my wife that. I wonder. So I always thought that, like, if you like the National Review does a podcast called The Editors, where they talk about the week of politics and things like that. I always thought that would work in Southwest Florida. Somebody from respected. I always thought that people would listen to that, because there's always news going on, whether it's the sheriff or the county or the little communities.
I would have loved to done that. The problem is I'm so busy writing stuff. My average is 3 to 4 stories a day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that doesn't leave a lot of time for almost anything else.
You're writing 3 or 4 stories a day.
Right.
That actually go to print.
Yeah. And we're talking little stories and large stories.
Yeah. What is when you're writing a story about something like the librarian getting that's a longer story. You got more calls to make. You got
calls to make. I've got to go online and check court documents.
Yeah.
I've got to see if I can talk to lawyers or experts. If I can't get a hold of somebody who's directly involved, then I find somebody in the field to talk to. So yeah, there's a lot involved in putting a story together. Absolutely.
What did your bosses say when you walked in and said? What was that conversation like?
I felt bad. I've been here 17 years.
Yeah.
I told my bosses immediately right off the bat, I said, this isn't about money. I wasn't going in there looking to try and force them to pay me more.
Right.
This was something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
This something was intriguing and exciting. And at my age, I was very lucky that they even offered it to me.
Did they say, you sure you don't want to think about this? Or they understood?
They understood, but they also said that.
Yeah. So now Amy Williams, does she kind of become the tenured reporter there?
She was before me. I mean,
she's been there longer than you.
I've only been there 17. Amy's been there longer than I have.
You've only been there 17. Like, who the hell holds a job for 17 years anymore?
I got to tell you, I was at my former nutpaper 25 years.
No kidding.
Yeah, Youngstown Vindicator, Youngstown, Ohio. I was there 25 years.
Why'd you move?
My in-laws, my ex-in-laws, moved down here and wanted somebody to move with them. So they made us an offer we couldn't refuse.
Yeah.
And we moved down here. Unfortunately, my marriage didn't survive that. But
your marriage didn't survive Florida.
No.
Interesting.
Imagine that.
So what are some of the big stories that the news press has kind of really broken that people can kind of historically look back on and say, those, you sit around the office and say, we did a great job here.
The Hertz story.
Yeah.
I mean,
which is a dump now, right? They're total. They wish.
But when it happened, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the different murder, crime type of stories, they always generate interest and generate a lot of readership. hurricanes.
Yeah.
I actually covered 4 hurricanes in a row, 4 years in a row, from Matthew up on the East Coast all the way through Isaias over on the East Coast. And one of them, one of your own people from here in Fort Myers Beach, Andrew West, photographer.
Okay.
He's my hurricane photographer. We covered 4 of them together. We almost lost our lives in
Really?
Hurricane Michael up in the Panhandle. We were in a hotel. It was ground zero when it came ashore. We were on the eye wall of the hurricane for over an hour and a half. Top of the roof of the hotel came off.
Wow.
It was raining inside the hotel. The gas line to the hotel got severed, so there was natural gas spewing into the hotel. For about an hour and a half, we just kind of looked at each other like, is this going to be it?
Wow.
Of course, we survived, but it was incredible.
What do you think people's fascination is with true crime? And I mean, you have to have crime in the paper, and you can see it every time you look on TV. Everything
visceral.
leads with crime.
It's visceral. People look at that stuff. I've been on 5 different crime podcasts: Discovery Channel, A&E, Killer Cases. It's something that people they feel it in their heart. They want to see what happened and go there for the grace of God. Could have been me.
Yeah, some of the stories are crazy, unbelievable.
Yeah,
too.
we had Teresa Sievers.
Yeah,
that was just crazy. The killer grandma that was down here in Fort Myers Beach. That was an awesomely crazy story.
I don't even know anything about that killer.
The lady from
one,
from Minnesota.
Yeah,
who came down here
about 5 years ago, right?
Killed the one woman down here.
Yeah. So when you go on those crime podcasts, what is it that you're talking to them about? Anything specific
details,
or
just details?
Really?
What I covered. Some of the court aspects, because all these cases have gone through the courts now.
Yeah.
So it's just they want to get details. They want to find out the nitty gritty of what this case was all about in terms of the people down here.
Oh, one specific case that you go on the different ones to talk about.
Exactly.
Even Dan Abrams now is doing this. That guy is unbelievable. I mean, going from that when that PD thing was so hot on cable, and then now he's doing the whole online thing, and people still love it. And is Cops coming to Lee County? They
were just here.
Has it aired yet?
No. It usually takes a couple months for them to put that together.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about?
Wow.
It's so nice to have you on after so long. You and David Dorsey came on a couple of times. But he couldn't really talk about much because he was still working at the paper. Right. But we talked about his book and some other things, try to beat around the edges.
Well, I want to say, I'm very grateful to the news press for giving me a job down here. I mean, I started as a designer. I'm not sure if you know that.
No.
I designed the front page for about 5 years. And then when they moved design network to Design Hubs, ours was supposed to be in Nashville. And I said, I don't want to move again. What else you got? And they said, well, you can be a reporter. So I'd done that before. So I jumped at it. And the editor at the time, Terry Eberly, later on said it was the best thing he ever did.
Nice. Nice.
And like I said, I'm having a blast. To me, this part of my career's last 10, 11, 12 years has just been phenomenal.
What are you going to miss the most about the paper?
The people, the fellow reporters and the camaraderie and working with them and seeing how my stories have impacted people. Mm-hmm. I get emails and Facebook comments all the time. Not all of them good.
Sure.
But
will we see you in front of the camera at WGCU or mostly
I'll be doing
behind?
some reporting.
Cool.
I will have to wait and see.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. And thanks for coming down to the beach, and good luck. And we'll be looking for you at WGCU, and hopefully we can have you back on, or maybe we could do a little editor's podcast now that you have more time.
Very good. Thanks, Ed.
Thanks a lot. Michael Braun, everybody. I shouldn't say formally yes, because you're still at the news press for 3 more weeks. Thanks so much for coming. We appreciate you coming down. And before we go, folks, Kim does want to tell you about what she experienced at the chamber, but I also want to make sure that I tell you about our good friends at Island Carts FMB, because they are really picking up the effort. They got some really cool carts. They got some long-lasting batteries. Eliza cranked out a video that we showed you earlier. If you need a golf cart to tool around, and now's the perfect time to get out on the island, because there's not so much traffic. It's nice to get out.
I don't have time. I have to. You've gone so long. My time has run out.
Island Carts FMB now has 8 4-seat carts, 4 6-seat carts, and they'll deliver the carts right to your door. If you get a ticket, I'll pay it. Don't worry. Check them out online at islandcartsfmb.com or call them now to reserve your cart. 844-FMB cart. That's 844-362-2278. Folks, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page. I know I've been annoyingly pushing that as of late, but I'm trying to get us over 1,000 subscribers and see what happens at 1,000. We have like 6,000 or 7,000 people on the Facebook. I'm feeling like Facebook is doing something to our page. That's why I'm saying that.
What do you mean?
I'm feeling like something's going on with our algorithm or something. I'm feeling like they're stamping down on us for some reason, and I don't know why. So I just want to make sure we have.
Are you getting paranoid, or you have something really to back that up?
I think something's goofy going on with the Facebook. So I want to make sure that we have all of our platforms covered. So I did a little video. Hey, and I did an Instagram live this morning. Like for the first time ever, I did an Instagram live at Beach Pottery because I wanted to try something new and I wanted to get the video out there about the special, the 20% off. But I had no idea if it recorded or if it posted or anything. I tried to share it. I couldn't even share it.
When I went to the swamp sanctuary yesterday, it was just yesterday, and I tried to post that video live from there. I mean, there's a learning curve, and we're old, and so the technology is an issue.
Speaking of old, thank you for asking that question, Mitch. To subscribe to the YouTube channel, I think you just go to YouTube, you search for Beach Talk Radio, and there's a subscribe button there. And then what that'll do is every time we go live on YouTube, like I did this morning when I walked around Margaritaville, you'll get a notification like you do when we go live on Facebook. So all you need to do is search over there. There's a link on our website somewhere. Don't forget to subscribe to our news, which comes out every Tuesday and Friday in your email. And there's one thing that's different about our page. We were talking about the news press page or a TV page. When you get on those pages, there are ads and shit flying everywhere. And on our pages, we try and keep it simple. We got the ads on the right rail and Laola on the top, and it's user friendly. So finally, we want to ask you about your Chamber of Commerce attendance. You went to the Chamber event, which was at the Lighthouse this week, and you got to do your little thing. And I said to her last night, I said, where are all the pictures from the Lighthouse Chamber event? And she's like, if we're going to take pictures, you're going to have to send somebody else. I have to be the person that walks around and shakes hands and hobnobs. And so we need a photographer.
I'm just not very good at doing two things at once. And I also...
What do you mean two things?
Well...
Can I take your picture, Snap?
I know, but it just didn't feel that. I don't like to be invasive.
Folks, this is what she said.
People are out having a good time. Everybody's exchanging cards, and there was food, and there was a lot of people there. And it just felt too intrusive to be like, hey, can I take your picture? It was just
what she said to me last
thing.
night? If you want the truth, everybody, she said to me last night, dear, I'm the star of the show. If you want pictures, send a photographer. That's what you said now. No. That's the truth.
But I, as outgoing as I am, I don't like to ask people for money, and I don't like to, I just don't want to be like pushy. I don't want to be too pushy.
Speaking of asking for money, I'm going to run the banner across the bottom. If you like what we're doing, today's show went fast. I mean, John Albion talks a mile a minute.
He's a fast talker, yeah.
Because he knew he wanted to get all that stuff in there, and he was ripping it off. Sometimes I think you got to keep him back on, you got to lasso him back in on the question and things like that. And sometimes he talks so fast, I can't keep up. My brain it doesn't work that fast, and I can't keep up with what he's saying. And then
he's been in the area a long time.
We don't need to recap it, dear. We watched it. And then the school teacher, the school library, rather, the new librarian, principal. I'll get it. The principal, she's fabulous. She has a PhD. Yeah. Yeah. And then Michael, that you didn't even participate in. I'm sure you hurt his feelings.
No, I
don't. Who are you talking to over there?
Him.
Who is that you were talking to? She works at the school. I see. So we're looking for a photographer, everybody, to follow Kim around when she goes to her events. And you went yesterday. You went somewhere too. You went paddleboarding or something.
No, I
taking
did that
pictures of bugs.
Earlier this week, I've been busy earlier this week, I went paddleboarding, and I just have to say the water in Estero Bay looked fabulous.
Whoa.
At least the day that I was out there, crystal clear. And It hasn't always looked that way when I've been out there. So, and the manatees were out there, not a ton of them, but I love it when you're sitting there and you can hear them exhale when they come up, and it's just, snap your head around. They're camera shy, but it's also difficult for me on the paddleboard to maintain balance and take a picture.
What I try and tell you is you should always have a camera running. You should always have the
I know.
I bought you a nice new GoPro that you can put on your helmet and just keep the whole thing rolling.
They just stick their noses up over just out of the water. It just warms my heart every time. And then yesterday I went to the Corkscrew Swamp
what was
Sanctuary.
that all about? Why did you go there?
It's by the Audubon Society.
I see.
Because
see Brad Cornell there?
Brad Cornell on, and I said this is how I heard about it, and the folks that are inside that give you directions and whatever, super sweet. I did this thing called forest bathing, and everyone at the chamber event had a different interpretation of that.
What is forest bathing?
It's really just
naked?
bathing. That's what somebody said, but it's not. It's really just bathing in the ambiance and the environment of the forest. But there was also a guided meditation led by this super cool lady. And so you sit, you have to sit and close your eyes. It was so relaxing. You could hear
I'd like to bathe in the forest.
And owls.
Would you bathe me in the forest?
No. And then we're not going there. And then you walked around the boardwalk. I would encourage everybody to go out there.
Your birthday's coming up. We could go to the forest.
Oh. There's
thinking about it, aren't you?
Be careful. There, I saw an alligator. I saw a black moccasin. I got a cool picture of this. I think it's some kind of grasshopper. It's really cool.
What do you think about the principal's most embarrassing moment being she got pantsed?
I thought that was.
And you criticized my question. Now you love it. Now it's a good question.
I'm not sure I love it, but I think it puts people off. And then
it didn't put her off.
No, she rolled with it. But she's a principal.
Think she's going to snap somebody's knuckles if somebody gets in trouble?
Absolutely not.
Get sent to the principal's office?
Absolutely not.
So,
she explained how that doesn't occur.
It doesn't happen anymore. It should happen, but it doesn't happen anymore.
And then you tried to kill me earlier this week.
Yeah, what was that about?
I walked out on the lanai and I smelled this weird
smell.
Oh,
yeah. This was a complete accident.
I was like,
how dare you blame this on me? Blame it on COVID. It
didn't really smell like a dead animal, and I asked you, and of course you're like, I can't smell anything. And I went back out and I went to let the dogs out, and I'm like, oh, that smell is just not good. And then I heard this hissing sound, and sure enough, you had inadvertently kicked the chair into the
totally confused.
You're distracting me. You kicked the chair
into
the grill.
Did you sell something today?
Yes. And you got the grill turned on, and so that was all propane gas.
I have no idea how I did that, but I had the COVID after. I can't smell anything anymore.
Somebody didn't call and say, I think there's a propane leak at this house. And thank God you didn't go to light a candle. I would have been like,
I don't really usually light candles in the middle of the day. There's no real reason for that.
The fact that it was still outdoors. I mean, our grill is outside, but.
So I want to know how you were able to do this. Like, we have somebody that cuts our lawn now, and one of your jobs is to, well, not that it's a job, but you've decided that one of your jobs, you've taken it upon yourself that one of your jobs is going to be that you walk Jillian's dog every morning.
Uh-huh.
So how is it that you figured out how to drop one small piece of duty right next to my truck? How did you do that? Like you placed it there. You placed it there strategically just because you wanted me to step in it. But I was duking and dodging around that thing for 4 days. I'm not picking it up.
I'm telling you that there's all sorts of, you hear about this all the time where someone gets it on their Ring camera of somebody not picking up after their dog.
But it was like a little,
she's not that little, so.
I think that you said, let me just dump a little bit right here to see if I could get him because of the propane thing. It was a little revenge thing. You tried to get me back with the duty. Speaking of,
hardly equal.
No, we're going to have a candidates forum on Friday night at,
not this Friday.
Yes, this Friday is August 5th.
No, it is not.
No, that's right. 2 weeks from yesterday is August 5th.
And there's the math again. Now he can't do the calendar.
I'm never going to get a PhD in math, that's for sure. We're going to be at the Mangaritas upstairs, and you need to reserve your spot because it's going to be crowded. It's going to be a new candidate forum, so you'll get a chance to meet and greet with Karen and John and Patrick. And then we're going to have like a little question and answer thing from 6 o'clock until 7:30ish. Do you have your questions ready? Are you going to be ready for that one?
I will try.
All right, I'm going to practice one on you, then we'll go. Will you vote for the Dune walkover? Yes or no?
Well, that's a yes or no question.
I'm asking you.
I don't get to vote.
Well, if you were a candidate, would you vote yes or no?
I'm not answering that.
Why not? You don't vote here. What are you afraid of? There's nothing for you to be afraid of. Why can't you give your opinion on it? Go ahead. It's just between you and me.
Would you vote?
Yes, I would vote yes.
How would you vote on community policing?
Yes, 4. I'd vote 4.
For it. Yeah.
Yeah. Will you? How would you vote on community policing? 2 or 4?
You mean 2 or 4
officers? If you pay for 2, you get 2 extra. That's what I mean. I'm just kidding. No, how many would you offer or want to hire? 2 or 4?
Well,
that's not a hard question. You want 2 or 4?
It isn't a hard question. My first instinct is to say 4 because you feel like more is better. But I think there's also some data and statistics that you could look at to see what would be the most reasonable number, because it's not like it's free. No, it's not like it's free.
I don't know what your answer was, but so let's get back to the first question. Dune walkover, yes or no?
Don't know.
That's not an option. If you had to vote on the Dune walkover, which way would you vote? You son of a gun, you. I can't believe you. No. You're such a sissy. Go pay your meter. Thank you all for tuning in. This was a 2-hour extravaganza that is 2 hours of your life you're never going to get back. I sincerely apologize for putting you through 2 hours of pain, but we do appreciate all your support. We hope you'll go out and visit our sponsors, our lovely, friendly advertisers all around the island. And if you didn't hear me list them, you can go back to the beginning of the show and start over. Please subscribe to our YouTube page. Check out the video on Instagram. We do have a Twitter page, too. I did a couple of tweets yesterday. I don't know. I was in a social media mood for some reason this weekend because, I don't think I've been reaching out enough on the social platforms. Something's going on funky on the Facebook. And we will see you back next week. We have Mr. Armstrong, I think is his last name, on. He's the other candidate running for the county board. We're also lining up an interview with the new general manager of Margaritaville. So stay tuned for that. You'll hear more about that. And then in a couple of weeks, we have the candidate, Mike Scott's daughter, Lindsay Scott, is running for judge. So she's coming in. Just a plethora of crazy guests from all over the world coming in. Thank you so much. By the way, if you subscribe to our YouTube page, Kim's got a couple extra videos up there of interviews she's done that you can watch. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much, Dave. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We appreciate all the love and support. Bye-bye.